Amanda and her husband had been married for 15 years and they had a serious argument. And Amanda said she wanted a divorce, but she would go with her children. And the husband said no, they could co-parent. And Amanda said no, she didn't want them to co-parent, that she wants to go with her children. So the argument became so bad that they had to involve both families, people from their church, of colleagues in the office that were very close to the family. They came in to talk to see if they can bring peace, and it didn't work. And one day the husband hit his hand on the table and said, Amanda, none of those children are yours. These children are mine. And Amanda said, no, these children are not yours. So when they got to a point where they needed to do a DNA, Amanda began to see so many things that changed her life entirely, that she couldn't even face people who knew about it, because at the point where they got to the DNA, other people needed to come in to ensure that everything was done free and fair, like nobody's trying to cheat the other. So it was until they got to the place where they would do the DNA, they discovered that Amanda's children were Amanda's children, but they were not her husband's children. Now, in the twist of this whole story, Amanda began to ask, how come the children are not her husband's children and they are her children? Because they did paternity and maternity test to show that Amanda actually gave birth to these children, but the husband is not the father of the children. Did the husband know that he wasn't the father of the children? Yes. How did Amanda become pregnant for another man? That was another twist. And then Amanda started asking the man to tell her how come he sleeps in the house with her and then some other person is getting her pregnant. The man said, well, he wanted to be sarcastic. He said, well, Amanda should be the one telling people what she's been doing behind him, that he never knew that he was not the father of the children, but within him, he knew the truth. So what actually happened was that this man, because he knew he couldn't father a child or children, he had the battle of one thing like that if the doctors have told him to work on. It became chronic and he couldn't bear children. And instead of him to do the right thing, maybe go seek for more counseling and treatment, he never told his wife. So each time he wanted to make babies, he planned with his brother to come to their house, and then he would drug the wife, and then the brother would do what he's supposed to do and go back to the visitor's room, while he would lie as though he had anything to do with the wife. Possibly, sometimes, according to the confession, after the brother had done, he would go over her and do, to just look as though something was coming out, or is going to make the wife pregnant. And then Amanda had this, feeling that it's not possible, that maybe the DNA test that was done was wrong, and she still planned to go on with the divorce. That was when the husband opened up to say that, Amanda, this is all what happened. The guy now began to tell the people there, Amanda, everybody, how it happened, how the brother was the one. So Amanda was now not just suing for. She was not suing for what the husband had confessed about, or what she knew, or what the DNA showed. She wasn't suing for that now. What she was now suing for is for them to had taken advantage of her, undue advantage of her. That was what she was now suing for. So the kids were already big, because the first child was already about, let's say, 14 years. The second child was around 12 years. The third child was about 10. And then I think the fourth child was about 8 years old. So they were like maybe 2 years older than the other. So all the while Amanda was getting pregnant, it was her brother-in-law who was doing it. And because the first time Amanda's husband had suggested that Amanda should try some other place, like maybe get it from outside, and Amanda said no, that she's married, she cannot do that kind of a thing, because at the end of the day it will still backfire. So the man now planned with his brother. It wasn't an easy thing for the brother to agree to come do that kind of thing, but he planned with the brother, and the brother eventually and reluctantly agreed to do that stuff for the brother, because according to the explanation he gave his parents, that he didn't want a visitor, a total stranger, to father his children. So Amanda now interjected and said, but the same you asked, that the same him asked her to get it from another man. That when she didn't do that, why didn't he just let her be? Why did he have to go bring the brother and plant him in the house? So the 4 babies all came from the brother-in-law, not her husband. And then when the brother-in-law saw that everything has been exposed, he now said that he was going to leave, and that the brother, he actually turned down the brother's offer, and the brother said no, that please he should help him. The whole thing, the whole neighborhood was at gog, because people were wondering, how can a man do this to his wife? And most people, when they hear stories like, they will say it's not possible. These stories are real. Any story I tell you that happened, it happened. So these are the things. We tell stories so that we could learn from people's mistakes or people's wins to make up our own lives, so that we don't fall into the same problems that people may have gotten into. So Amanda now became very, very miserable. She now started seeing a doctor for therapy. Things were so tough for her mentally, because she couldn't process how a man would be so wicked. You knew you were impotent, and you never mentioned it to your wife. That's another thing. So Amanda she felt betrayed. And then even when the court started the divorce process, the court never allowed the guy to stay with the children. Like, they didn't want him to even have shared custody because of that kind of thing he did. And being that the kids were already big, they were beginning to hear a few whispers as to how they came into being, or who is their father and who is not their father. And those kind of things can actually tamper with the psyche of a child. So it was a really, really bad time for Amanda. So Amanda now picked up her children, decided that let them just relocate, let them look for a place to stay, because they couldn't understand what was going on. How can a man that claimed to love you take that kind of step? So she had asked these questions. Her friends had called her to ask her how she's doing, what's the next step, and she would just go all over again, telling them how the husband betrayed her, telling them how the husband, took undue advantage of her with the brother, telling, a lot of complaints. She complained. But one thing the parents kept telling her was that since it is within the family and it was not an outsider, she should conceal the story. But Amanda was not ready to conceal the story, because there was already a narrative out there that they were pushing. So she didn't want to now be the bad person in the picture, because at the end of the day, they will not look at it that she was innocent. Somebody took advantage of her, not just advantage of her, undue advantage of her. So Amanda picked her things, picked her children, and relocated from that place. She didn't even eventually go abroad, but she relocated from that area and was still in Nigeria, but in another area. So it got so bad that the man now started asking, for the children, that he wants to be with the children. They told him, but the court had already ruled that no shared custody, it has to be sole custody. And Amanda, told the man that any day he tries calling her, he's going to call the police on him. And the guy now came begging that he's very sorry for everything that's happened, that they can always make it, that at least let her give the children. She said no, she's not going to give her children to anybody, because anybody who is able to do that kind of a thing can actually kill, that she's not ready to do that kind of stuff. So Amanda now decided that even after they had left the environment where they lived before to another state entirely, still in Nigeria, that it was very, very important for her to relocate with the children. So she began to prepare for their visa papers, to apply for visas and all of those. That was where the husband now came to the same place and told them that she cannot apply for those visas, that that the children are his children, that she cannot apply. It made a lot of trouble, to the point that they asked the woman what was going on, and that she should go sort out her family issues before she would make any move to travel. Nobody knew who told them that Amanda was planning to travel out. Nobody knew who told them that Amanda was already filling form. Nobody even told them how Amanda was already in the embassy Nobody knew who told them. But at the end of the day, they stopped her that she couldn't travel with the children until everything is resolved.